Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur, and in year 8, we're taking head-on 2 of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. Tonight, a very special conversation with the new president of FICCI, our Knowledge Council member, as well as the joint managing director of Apollo Hospital, Sangita Reddy. We're being joined live and exclusive by Sangita Reddy. Sangita, first off, congratulations on being named as the new president of FICCI. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview so soon after being named as the new president. You're also our Knowledge Council member here on the Leaders of Tomorrow because you're very passionate about the power of entrepreneurs and the change really that they can bring to the country. It's such a pleasure having you here on the show. You've had a long, illustrious journey, Sangita, one of the very few women entrepreneurs from India who's on such a global platform as yourself. I want to start tonight's interview by talking about some of the highlights, really, of that journey.
So I think a typical Apollo journey marks highlights in terms of wonderful patient experiences. So I think the first multi-organ transplant happened on a Christmas day in Chennai. It was the Chennai team who just did something very special to create the country's first multi-organ transplant. So a heart, 2 kidneys, the liver were all transplanted, and 4 patients got life because one young individual passed on and shared that. So I mark a lot of milestones. Of course, I remember the Delhi hospital opening, this hospital inauguration, you add the cancer hospital, you look at our education, our first medical college, the first time we did our digital online learning platform, our skilling company. So each one of these, but these milestones are marked more in terms of how can we add a dimension to care, how can we reach more lives, how can we make healthcare in India and the world better and more proactive. And I think now the biggest milestone is really going to be the launch of ProHealth, which is our new proactive, predictive health management program, which includes a checkup, which goes on to more of health maintenance so that people remain healthy. As our chairman and my father, Dr. Reddy, are saying, we should dedicate ourselves to preventing preventable deaths. Because young families all over the world, and especially in India, are being robbed of their loved ones because we are not doing everything that science knows but has not been translated into the population. So I think all our milestones are related to the number of lives we touch.
There are a couple of things which are very close to your heart, Sangita, apart from entrepreneurs and the cause of entrepreneurs that you really propagate. The other is the use of technology when it comes to the healthcare space. You're very vocal really about the power of technology when it comes to the healthcare space. I just want to, in a nutshell, if possible, ask you to really talk about what the biggest changes in your mind are for a country like India that healthcare and technology can really bring about.
So clearly, I think the realm of the impact of tech in healthcare is tremendous, it's transformational, and actually gives us an opportunity to do something, I won't say completely different, because the core of healthcare will get activated, energized, efficiency will be added in. But another dimension of healthcare is going to get added around what's happening in traditional healthcare environments. And I see these in multiple avatars. One will be the strengthening of the primary healthcare sector, which we're doing a lot of work, whether it's in our own clinics or also in the government, where we're partnering and doing PPP clinics. I mean, we're managing primary healthcare centers. So one segment is going to be the strengthening of primary healthcare. The second one, which I believe is going to be significantly transformational, is the use of artificial intelligence in bringing appropriate knowledge to doctors when they need it. So it's not artificial intelligence so much as assisted intelligence to clinicians from the best in the world or the best cases. And this, in a proactive, just-in-time, delivered when you need it kind of manner, will be, a very big dimension. And then I think finally the most exciting aspect of the use of technology in healthcare is coming with the evolution of precision medicine. In precision medicine, the combination of genetics, where we use the science of the DNA and the representation of the human genome to predict disease and be proactive about prevention, to also target therapies, because different individuals and different cells have differential uptake to certain medicines. The response system is different. So this is a combination of genetics, pharmacogenetics, biology, immunologicals. It's a complex and evolving world, which is made more precise using newer diagnostic technologies, newer treatment modalities, whether they are the proton therapy machine, which we were extremely happy to have in Chennai to be able to treat more people from around the world, or robotics, where the precision or the access for surgeons is enabled by a robotic arm. So precision medicine is going to be the next big transformational horizon.
While the opportunities for technology in the use of healthcare in a country like India cannot be overstated, my question is, outside of the use of technology, what or where in your mind really are the opportunities? For instance, I do know that you are equally passionate about the use of, say, yoga, etc. when it comes to healthcare, and really the power of things like yoga when it comes to healthcare, or nutrition also, and the importance of nutrition when it comes to healthcare. Outside of the use of technology, where are the opportunities in your mind?
So I think there are a realm of opportunities. In the offline, the first thing I think is actually tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So, addressing the needs of people who live in those communities. And now with the addition of Ayushman Bharat, which is really the world's largest health insurance scheme, I think the ability to provide high quality but low cost, no frills healthcare in tier 3 cities and other areas is one of the biggest opportunities. I also believe that primary healthcare is ready for a transformational change. I think opportunities exist in home care, in the entire wellness space. Whether it's yoga, it's healthy foods. You go to an airport waiting lounge today, and or all the restaurants in the airports. How much of those are healthy food? So you're talking to a community which is mobile, which is literate, which is aware and evolved. But because of what's there, they're ending up eating pizzas or oily vadas or things which are not too healthy. So there is absolutely a realm of opportunity across the health and the wellness space.
You've worked across all roles at your company, I understand, from being an EA to your dad to waiting for a period in the 90s for the hospital to really turn a corner. What have those experiences taught you? What can you really tell our viewers watching this interview about any advice for them?
I think that, primarily at Apollo, there's a culture of great patient centricity, of focusing on doctors, of focusing on, what's happening within the working environment, human resources, nurses. But when I was told that, our entire capital, in those days Hyderabad was a separate company called Deccan Hospital Corporation. So they said the capital has been wiped out and, you are technically on lines to becoming a sick company. So it was like a very tough thing to really face because on one hand we were doing extraordinary clinical work. Our doctors, I remember in those days, Dr. Dikshit, he had an unmatched record of over 250 heart surgeries without a single mortality. Dr. Denton Cooley in Houston had acknowledged him. When chairman, spoke to Dr. Cooley, he acknowledged him in a US-based cardiac conference. He acknowledged Dr. Dikshit. So clinically, we were doing some tremendous work. Whether orthopedics, we introduced trauma, and yet financially we were not doing well. So it brought home to me, the lesson that we need to marry clinical excellence with financial prudence. And in those days, our investors, we were the first hospital in the country to be funded by institutions, which is ICICI and IDBI. So we went to them with a new financial plan. We asked for loan waivers, we asked for deferment of interest, and it was a lot of work. And I remember in those days, Mr. Vagul was the chairman of ICICI, and he said, because it's a new sector and it's a new business and we know you're working very hard, we will give it to you. And but I will also put in a right to recompense, and I believe that all of you together can turn this around. And I'm happy to say that 3 years later, we not only got completely back on track, under the right to recompense clause, we paid back every bit of interest and loan waiver. So it was, a very good moment. And I think for entrepreneurs today, where the world has become, a little not very respectful of the integrity of all entrepreneurs, I think it's very important for us to establish the ground rules that we are responsible to all stakeholders. We must build a business on good ethical practices, and we must take pride in the fact that we have paid our dues in every quarter. So, and I think it can be done if you galvanize a team around a crisis and stay focused on good care with no compromise, yet financial prudence. It is possible to achieve and to hold your head up high.
Let's slip into a short break on that note. When we come back, we'll continue this exclusive conversation on Leaders of Tomorrow with the new FICCI president. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, we're continuing to bring you the highlights of an exclusive conversation with the new president of FICCI. One of the roles that you handled in your early days, I understand, was also HR or hiring really of people. Drawing from that experience, if you can talk about the importance of finding the right talent in the healthcare sector, in the healthcare space, what advice you would have for someone, for an entrepreneur watching this interview about really finding that right fit and retaining that right talent?
So I think HR is the most important subject in healthcare. In fact, in any business, but a lot in the service industry. And in healthcare, it's a combination of critical talent which translates into life. And so there can first of all be no compromise. So we must choose people with a high capability, skill and knowledge. But we need to match that with people who have a certain human connect. And then it actually moves to the fact that no one serves alone. You serve as a team. So there's a very important and interesting role to play in terms of balancing. And I remember that, we had a certain doctor who was absolutely brilliant, but his communication in the patient room was not so brilliant. And so we actually specifically trained his junior doctor and said, you stay back in the patient room for 5 minutes or 10 minutes after the senior consultant steps out and ensure that you communicate that human touch and let people understand that he's a great doctor with his heart in the perfect place, but the amount of pain he has seen in terms of patients, his self-preservation mechanism makes him not connect so much, and he does it so that he doesn't become too fond of his patients. And he was an oncologist, so he's seen, you know, people lose their lives, and it is very painful because doctors are human beings. They feel too. So I think a lot of HR is in understanding the customer's needs, the individual's capability, and building and balancing a skill and a team around that. In terms of retention, one of the things we realized is that we follow the kind of a principle of first is build a deep sense of belonging. So at Apollo, everyone is part of the Apollo family. And this Apollo family is a culture, it's a philosophy, it's a way we work and practice. The second thing which I think was fairly important is that we try to, number one, celebrate clinical successes, whether it's, you know, the 100th this surgery or 5,000 cochlear implants on babies or 100,000 bypass surgeries. We celebrate successes because those successes or milestones means that this many patients have gone home happy. When you've practiced behind the scenes with some of your colleagues and put up an outstanding show on stage, I think it builds a new level of bond, new level of togetherness and a new bonding. So that collegial family spirit is something that we very consciously cultivate.
Sangita, I do also want to talk about the fact that you belong to one of the more prominent business families in the country. And you've said many times in the past that what perhaps has really worked for you when it comes to working with your sisters in the organization is that each of you has a very clearly demarcated role. What lessons, what learnings can you give our entrepreneurs who perhaps may be in family-owned, family-run businesses themselves based on your experience?
I don't know whether it was a master design or an evolution, but basically each one of us has skill sets, and by God's grace or Dad's engineering or whatever it is, these skill sets have been complementary. Sunita is clearly our financial genius and guru, and Preeta has a technical connect with clinicians, so she has pursued this development of high clinical knowledge and connectivity with doctors. I have worked and built up a skill set in information technology and human resources. Shobna has tremendous leadership and entrepreneurial capacity, and she took the pharmacy division from a very small division to what it is today. I think at 3,600 pharmacies, we're actually one of the largest retail branches, not just in healthcare, but in any sector. And she has driven that in addition to building a very successful company in the insurance. So there was large enough spaces for each one, an appreciation or an acknowledgement that we are complementary in our skill sets, and when we work together, it's better for the organization. And I don't think we were born with this great, kind of wisdom, but it evolved. And one thing, or a few things were really the guiding factors. Definitely, of course, our parents and our mom who taught us never to sleep on a fight. So if we had a disagreement or a fight, we would definitely at least say sorry before we went to sleep. But I think Dad was one who always said that the organization is far bigger than any of you. And the organization is far bigger than any of us. And so we must build to last. We must build an infinite organization which is committed to the betterment of society. And everyone in that is only incidental. The cause is larger than the human being or the individual.
Another thing that you are very vocal about, Sangita, is the role really of women entrepreneurs in the country today. The biggest opportunities, the biggest challenges for a woman who is an entrepreneur today, according to you?
One thing is that I always hope that whenever I get asked these women questions, I always start off hoping that by the next generation, these questions will become irrelevant, and that men and women will have equal opportunities and equal capability, and the world would evolve to a place which appreciates that women have certain needs at certain points in their career, and what they do is good for the world at large, and therefore they should be respected. But end of the day, I think healthcare is an extremely woman-friendly sector. It's not just our nurses and our doctors, but across the enterprise, the culture is very supportive of women. So number one, I would encourage women to make their careers in healthcare. Number two, I think that women, by and large, have a responsibility, because their success is a role model or a guide to many other women who are watching and seeking to be inspired, who are caught within the boundaries of either home or tradition or lack of exposure or lack of opportunity. And this role or this need of inspiring other women to say, yes, we can, yes, we should, and that the future is bright is a very important role that we play, of being a role model and an inspiration. Besides that, I think we also have a responsibility towards being a bit of a support and creating women's support systems so that the future is brighter for all women is something that I feel very passionate about.
All right, it's been a fascinating conversation, Sangita. I want to end by asking you one piece of advice. If you can leave our entrepreneurs with that, what would it be?
So let me honestly tell you that I think the young entrepreneurs of today have a lot of advice that they can give us who have been around. So for us who have been around for a long time, I think staying young and nimble and learning continuously is something we should learn from new entrepreneurs. And to the others, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not easy, so just stay patient, stay passionate, stay committed to what you want to do, and you will succeed.
Sangita Reddy, thanks very much for taking the time to join us here on the show. Congratulations again on being named the new FICCI president. That was Sangita Reddy, our Knowledge Council member who's mentoring our entrepreneurs over the course of the year. If you have any questions for our mentors like Sangita, for the other experts who come on the show, this is how you get in touch. Send us your queries. Our contact details coming up on your screens in just a moment. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.